Hello everyone, I'm Chris Basil Builds, and this is a 1993 Lexus LS400. Learned a little bit about this car after I bought it. Come to find out, it's the first model Lexus ever introduced. They spent like 10 years developing the car, did all kinds of crazy things. You may look at it today and say that it's not necessarily the coolest car you've ever seen, and I would second that opinion, but trying to use this as an example of a car that you can buy for pretty inexpensive. In this case, I bought this car for scrap price. It's been sitting in a garage for 10 years. So far, all I've done is aired the tires up, put a battery in it, and tow it here. And I didn't even have to wash it. They washed it for me. So thank you, Sheila Covington and your family, for giving me the opportunity to do this. Pretty cool car, and I look forward to getting it running again. Story I got with the car was that it was parked because the fuel pump had gone bad, and it has a couple other issues that I've noticed since I put the battery in it, but I think this car is going to breathe back to life. So today what I'm going to do is pull the fuel pump out of it, put a new one in it, put some gas in it, and see if it lives. Those are my original assertions, I suppose. So far, electrically, the car's pretty good. All the windows work, locks work, everything like that's pretty cool. The tires all have pretty bad flat spots because it sat literally in the same spot for 10 years until the tires went flat. So I don't think if I do get it driving, it's going to drive very well on these tires, but they're holding air right now, so that's good enough to get us started, I suppose. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free and like, share, subscribe, comment, give me your opinions. This is going to be the first resurrection I've ever done, on camera at least. Try to make it not too boring for you guys. Thanks for tuning in. So, the majority of the work that's going to have to go on today is going to be in the trunk or behind the back seat. In this particular vehicle, the gas tank is behind the back seat, between the trunk and the back seat. So I'm going to start by popping the trunk and getting to the wiring in the back. Prerequisite. I do already know a little bit about what I'm doing here. I did go to the salvage yard to get a different fuel pump. I went and bought a new one from O'Reilly's, reasonably priced enough, but I had a credit at the salvage yard for something I had bought and not ended up using, so I figured why not just use that to try to save a little bit more money here. So see if I can get this carpet area here down. That's where the wiring is to unplug the fuel pump, and then I'll need to get in the car, take the back seat out, and I can actually get to the access. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, well, that wasn't too hard. The gas gauge said that this thing has like no gas at all in it. By no gas, like completely below the bottom. When I was at the junkyard, I also got the sending unit because, I don't know, I figure maybe this one's rusty or not working. So I have that as a backup in case if it's not reading properly. That we're just going to have to see. Yeah, well, that's pretty much it for here. We're going to have to disconnect these two wires and get to where we can pull that old pump out. Then we're going to get to the back seat and do that part. Just wanted to go ahead and say too, this isn't necessarily like an instructional video on how to do this, but I figured the best way to go about it was to just do it the way I'm going to do it, and just show you the way I do it, and maybe you can learn something, maybe you get some enjoyment out of it. I'm not really sure, but I just don't really know any other way to describe what I'm doing other than to just tell you exactly what I'm doing. So most Japanese cars are kind of the same to take the seats out. Usually the back seat's got some clips that snap down, and then it's got some guides that go into the seat back. I went ahead and just popped this up and figured out how to get it out, so I'm just going to get this out, get it out of the way. To get the seat back out of the way, not too much more complicated. You do have to remove, there's two 10mm bolts here, and then there's one on each corner right here under these flaps. Also, to get to where you can get to these middle bolts, you have to take these seat buckles out. That's a 14mm. That is broken. So I'm going to go ahead and take those bolts out and see if we can get to this sending unit. This car is kind of nice because it's so big. It's actually got enough room to get around in here. A lot of times the Japanese cars don't have really big. I'm kind of cheating by using my electric ratchet. I feel that I owed myself that after spending 2 hours at the junkyard doing the same job. I could realistically probably do in 10 minutes. Alright, well that's all the bolts it takes to get this thing out. I had pretty good success at just lifting up on it. Enough to get where you can get it off of its slides in the back. Okay, that side's loose. Not a particularly fun job, but not too bad. Okay, now we have the seat out. Now we can gain access to our fuel pump. The car at the junkyard had this a little bit ripped. I think I'm going to do the same. Not too bad, just enough to get to where I can get to it. I don't want to mess the car up, but I don't know how this piece disconnects, and I'm not trying to spend all day doing this. What you got to do now is take off this cover. gives us access. I'm gonna go grab another screwdriver real quick. Be right back. Okay, well, I got the fuel pump switched out. This is the old fuel pump. It's an in-tank style. It screws into the back of the tank. It's got one line that goes back. It doesn't have a return, which I thought was kind of odd that I saw. Nothing about this one necessarily looks bad, and I also hooked it up to power. I went ahead and cut it because I knew I wasn't going to save it, and I hooked it up to a battery, and it actually still functions, but it wasn't enough to start the car. I didn't see any reason to film the part of me pulling this out of the tank. It's pretty straightforward in any car, and if you're going to be doing this job, that's something that if you're not confident to do, you probably shouldn't try. So now we've got the fuel pump installed. I'm going to hop in the car and see if it fires up. Kind of surprising how well it runs after sitting for 10 years with now seeing about 3/4 of a tank of really bad old gas. But it seems to run pretty good. It'll go in and out of gear. At this point I'm going to run it for a little bit, let it smooth out. It's reading no gas on the gas gauge, which I did also get a new sending unit float from the car that I got the fuel pump from. The car that I found at the junkyard that I got all these parts from was wrecked in the front pretty obviously. It looked like it hit a pole or a tree. So I figure that for the most part that car was probably functional before it got wrecked. So once I run a little bit of gas through it, I'm going to install this and see if I can get the gas gauge to work again. And beyond that, now time to start troubleshooting some other things and see how the car drives. Alright guys, well, this is pretty much going to wrap up this video for today. The Lexus surprisingly really did pretty good on the road. Aside from obvious tires being really flat. I put air in them, but they very badly have flat spots in them. So, you know, I expected that. I'm not really upset about it. Functionality wise, the car runs and drives good. It shifts into gear good, brakes work, good pedal, sunroof, windows, all that stuff works. I think I mentioned that already. Air conditioner doesn't work, but everything seems to be there. I mean, not to say that's surprising for it sitting as long as it did. But so far, I mean, I'm in this car cheaper than a week rental car. So this is going to be part one of this, and we're going to do some more with it. I'm going to get a set of probably some secondhand tires for it, and also coming up soon we're going to do a video on the Ram Charger. It's going to be a long-going project. It's going to be several parts to it. It's kind of a rolling resto, something I want to talk more about later. But again, I just want to say thanks so much for tuning in and checking out my video. I know this wasn't probably again the most interesting video you've ever seen, but just wanted to show that an afternoon in your driveway, a trip to the junkyard, and probably less money than you're going to spend at the bar this weekend could get you a running and driving car. So again, I'm Chris Basil Builds. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, share, turn on your post notifications, and tune in for the next one. Thanks guys, have a good one.